Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Chris and I'm a student nurse that studies in Australia. Today, we're going to go through 5 study tips that every student needs. The best thing about these tips, guys, is that they're 100% free. They, for the most part, cost nothing and you can set them all up in your own house as well. First thing you're going to need, guys, is a good study space. I find this really useful. It helps me maintain my schedule for study and also kind of conditions me to get into the mood for study as well. So mine consists of my desk here. All I've got on it is a computer, monitors, keyboard, mouse, and an iPad. I've got a few other things like a lamp, photo, plant, gimbal, things like that, but for the most part it's geared towards just studying. And that is the main takeaway from this, guys. You need to make sure that your desk or your study space is not distracting. You can't think you're going to have an effective study session if your desk is covered with magazines, books, clothes, and other distracting things like that. It just doesn't work. Your brain won't get into the right headspace. I know for me, especially if I sit down at a messy desk, the first thing I'm going to want to do is procrastinate and clean it. So you need to make sure it's a clean, study-friendly area, preferably actually in a room only for study. I can't do that, so mine's in my bedroom, but if you've got a study or, a spare room somewhere where you can set that up as like an office, that's even better because all your distractions will be out the way and that'll kind of help you get more into the zone as well. Tip number 2, everyone, is have a study routine with dedicated time off. I found this really useful. In high school, I tried to study 7 days a week, and it was ridiculous. I was burnt out, I felt I wasn't learning anything, and it was just a ton of pressure that I put on myself, and to be honest, I didn't really even do that well. For my study routine for university, I try and treat my study like a job. So I'll have 5 days on, followed by 2 days off. I might split it up during the week depending on how I'm feeling, but I find this beneficial. So basically on the 2 days off, I won't think about uni, I won't look at any coursework or emails. It's 2 days off specifically for me to recharge, refresh. That being said, I do still stick to a routine on my days off. I'll still get up around the same time and make sure I'm productive, but I won't focus on things related to my coursework or my university. It's kind of similar to me working my full-time job at the hospital. Also, if you're working full-time, you might find this beneficial, as being a full-time worker myself, I don't have a lot of time to study on the days that I'm working. So I make sure I'm studying as efficiently as possible. I have already made a video that I'll link up here on my study techniques and how I study effectively, so feel free to check that one out, guys. It might be useful for you. Tip number 3 is that it can be useful to have people that hold you accountable. I know for myself, when I'm studying something really monotonous or doing a lot of rote learning, I find it really hard to keep focused. So I guess you could say I've employed my partner and my mum to kind of keep me on track. And these people are really useful in my life. They're people that I trust and people that I'm close with that I know will hold me accountable if I get to that point. So I might call them and say, look, I'm feeling a bit low, or I'm not really motivated, or I'm thinking about procrastinating. And they can text me back, or they can talk to me and say, look, you've got this assignment to do, smash it out, stay on track, we're proud of you, or we believe in you. And I find this little boost of motivation really useful. Another thing that I find useful is studying in groups. So if you can find your friends or someone doing the same degree as you in the same sort of unit or year level as you, hold each other accountable. I've got a study group with a couple of my mates and we can text each other, we're feeling like crap or we don't want to study today, and we kind of help each other push forward and clear our head, and we can kind of give each other tips on how to study and how to stay motivated as well. So I find that really, really useful. Tip number 4 is you need to find a reason why. This does go into a little bit of depth here, but it's bigger than the whole, why are you studying for this exam? Oh, because I need to pass it. Why are you studying anatomy? Oh, because I need to know bones of the body. That's useful, and that's a why, but that's not the why I'm referring to. I'm referring to the why as in the bigger picture, your passion. For me, I know I'm quite passionate about being a doctor and helping people. For me, I've had to sit down and ask why I wanted to be a doctor. I wasn't one of those kids that was born, when I was 3, oh, my dad was a doctor, I want to be a doctor. Or I, played doctor all my life, now I want to be a doctor. I've kind of had to sit back and examine why I wanted to do this. I love helping people, I love the medical side of things, but more importantly, I want to make an impact to as many people's lives as I can. It's kind of similar with the YouTube thing and helping people. But you need to sit down and you need to figure out for yourself why you're doing this. Not why you're learning calculus to pass the exam, but where you want to be in 5, 10, 15 years time, and how this kind of fits into getting you where you want to go. So I find, doing nursing, I don't really want to work as a nurse. I enjoy working as a student nurse or an assistant nurse at the moment in the hospital, but my end goal is to be a physician. So I know that when I'm feeling unmotivated or unsatisfied where I'm at in life, I know that my big why, as in I want to be a doctor, why I'm doing this, will lead me to that end goal, and that's a big motivation for me as well. Tip number 5 is probably the most important. You need to have interests that are completely unrelated to study and do them in your downtime. I find in society today we can sometimes put a lot of emphasis and a lot of energy into things that take up a lot of time, but overall they're not that important. Being a workaholic, striving for a ton of money, sure, it's great, but you're using a lot of your time, which is like the one thing you can't get back, to get there. And I find if you focus so much on these things, you miss things in your life. You miss people, you miss moments, you miss sitting down and having a cup of coffee, because those things become so unimportant to you when you're just tunnel visioned on this goal. I know study's important, like study and getting good grades and things are important, but I find they can't be the be all and end all of your life, or you'll be unhappy. So I have a lot of interest outside of study, which I put a lot of emphasis into as well. When I'm not studying, I work on my car, I wire up lights, I collect watches. These are things that have been passions of mine for a long time. I've collected watches since I got my first watch since I was 12. And I carry these things on, and I'm constantly researching watches, finding more things about them, learning about them, and I find it really refreshing to sort of step back from study for a while and focus on something else. Similar with the YouTube thing, that's a passion of mine. I've wanted to do this for a couple of years, and I finally bit the bullet this year and kind of got into it. And I feel it's really important as humans we kind of create stuff and contribute to society in a positive way. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you found these 5 study tips useful. If you did, feel free to give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. That would mean a lot. Until next time, guys, cheers.